A girl lying on the ground is being held down by large arms around her neck, causing her to question the strange expression of someone watching her. The grip on the girl's throat is quickly released, and the frightened man looks at his hands in confusion, questioning what is happening. With no time to react, he is thrown away, falling harshly to the ground, the impact causing him to cough as the girl stands up and watches him nervously. The red-haired young man remains confused and lost about what just happened, wondering where he is and if he is delirious. Not understanding, the boy becomes disoriented, generating great nervousness followed by severe headaches. The pain is accompanied by memories of many unfamiliar people and a large white wolf with red eyes. The man is startled by a long sword at his neck and by the girl who talks about persisting in the challenge, and refers to him as her brother. Slowly looking at her, who seems hurt and embarrassed, and accusing him of throwing her to the ground and advancing on her, the girl stares back at him. The character with long red hair, feeling completely nervous and still with the sword at his neck, says he knows nothing about what happened at the moment. A look of doubt and anger forms on the woman's face as she struggles to understand the rapid change in the boy's behavior. Suddenly, a little girl with short pink hair appears from a distance, shouting directly at the boy that her older sister does not like him. The girl continues to assert that the boy had lost other fights several times and was pretending to avoid embarrassment. The boy, looking lost and with a scowl, sarcastically remarks to the little girl that he also doesn't like her sister. The little girl becomes upset and calls him shameless, but is interrupted by the girl who says she has already resolved the matter. A blue light appears around the woman's high heels as she picks up the girl and carries her away in her arms. After they leave, the boy puts his hand on his head and mutters to himself that he feels he is not in a dream, also mentioning that he felt the cold of the sword at his neck. The boy starts to cough up blood and, feeling dizzy, supports himself against a large tree nearby when someone calls out a name, Ning Yiwan. Upon hearing the name, he realizes that he is inside the game, The Legend of the Immortal Sword. After piecing together the information, he remembers that the gray-haired girl was Ning Yiwan. According to the game's storyline, he was playing the character Qingyang, who was meant to lose the battle against her. In the storyline, the NPC tormenting the girl was the older brother she was forced to stay with. After 6 months, his character would be killed by her in a battle known as the Competition of the Sky. The boy is frustrated to have reincarnated as an unlucky minor character, wishing he could have at least been the protagonist. Sighing, he recalls that when he was younger, he would skip all the important dialogue scenes of the character he is now in. He adds that he vaguely remembers Qingyang's story but is lucky to recall the major events that were likely to occur. The boy is then surprised by a beautiful young woman with long dark hair and a long pink dress who says she has been looking for him. Fortunately, the boy remembers the story of this character, and in his memory, the girl takes advantage of his fragile state by pretending to help him while actually supporting Qin Xin, the older brother. Liao Xin uses an excuse to comfort him and absorbs all his essence, transferring it to Qin, thus boosting his cultivation. The beautiful girl pretends to trip over a stone, waiting for the boy to help her, but he, unresponsive, avoids her, causing her to fall to the ground. The girl gets up, complaining and questioning why she wasn't helped and mentioning that she hurt her backside. She pressures him about how she will be compensated for it. The timid protagonist argues that he didn't help her because it is inappropriate for men and women to touch each other casually. He also claims he didn't want to ruin her reputation and suggests she apply medicine to her injury to feel better. Then he quickly runs away to avoid being involved in helping her, while she remains shouting angrily that she needs his help to get up. The girl, who has fallen to the ground, tries to get back up and worries about how she will return without information for her older brother. The boy arrives at a large, beautiful 2-story temple where his game's NPC probably sleeps and trains. The place belongs to the Huashui sect, and he searches for his token to leave the celestial realm, as he cannot pass the barrier without it. Upon entering, he worries that if he doesn't complete the missions to obtain what he needs, he will die after the 6 months, as is preordained. The boy reflects on his own powers and those of Ning Yiwan, who is at the 3rd layer of the domain, while he is at the Qi refinement stage. In his bed, he feels frustrated about the situation, knowing that as an NPC, he will remain useless, while his adversary will eventually reach the Golden Core stage. The protagonist sets a goal to leave the celestial realm before the competition and considers becoming an adventurer. A voice calls out to him. It is the girl who followed him to the temple. Startled, he gets up angrily and calls her persistent. The girl leans in and, in an irritating tone, insists that the older sister, Ning Yiwan, never liked him. In another attempt, she claims that she is no less attractive than the other girl and questions why she couldn't be chosen instead. Exasperated by her attempts, the boy remains lying down and does not react while she locks the door and offers to comfort him. After locking the door, The boy becomes alarmed and moves away, already aware of her intentions, and she declares her affection for him. He wonders why she wants to be close to him and starts feeling pressured and embarrassed by what is happening. The woman moves closer, trying to convince him that he wants her just as much as she wants him, but he firmly denies it the whole time. Pushing him further into the bed, she maliciously begs him to hold her, and the increasingly uncomfortable boy begins to tremble. Liao thinks she has succeeded in her goal, but to her surprise, she is thrown violently against the door of the room. In disbelief, she remains where she was thrown, while the protagonist notices a power he has never seen emanating from his hands. Trying to understand the situation, he realizes that the host inhabiting him is a demon, and although weak, its cultivation is comparable to the foundation establishment stage. The girl is astonished by what has just happened and cannot understand how someone who was previously useless and powerless managed to hurt her. The boy, speaking bravely, tells her about her disrespect in entering his room without permission the way she did. The girl, upset, once again states that she has liked him for a long time, but he remains firm in his response. After their exchange, she shows frustration and is baffled by how someone so weak has acquired so many abilities. From a short distance outside the room, it is possible to hear him commenting on his clothes as they are being taken out of the dormitory. The girl is then kicked and the door is slammed shut, leaving her outside, while the boy inside takes pride in understanding her intentions. Imagining what might have happened if he had not known the true story behind everything, the boy becomes thoughtful. He does not remember that the character description mentioned the demon of the wolf clan dominating the body. The NPC was meant to be useless and not cultivate, but this gives him great hope of being useful, as his fate would be dangerous if he remained extremely weak. Leaving the forest around the temple, the boy hides quickly, observing everything, and believes he will be able to remain unnoticed. In his mind, since this is a real world, it won't be exactly like the game, but the obstacles will be different, providing the opportunity he wanted. He considers fleeing and runs quickly, as there is no one around to see him, but to his surprise, the barrier still exists. After hitting his face repeatedly, the boy falls back and accepts that there is truly no way to leave the celestial realm without his token. On the other side is a girl with brown hair and a short yellow dress, known to everyone as Qingyang. She passes through the barrier effortlessly and is also recognized as the editor-in-chief of the news pavilion. She asks him if he wanted to leave the mountain, as he was trying to pass the blockade while hiding. Trying to cover up what happened, the protagonist invents a story that he was just walking and got tired, so he sat down to rest. Curious about her return, he asks why she is there if she had already returned from a mission or for another reason. She explains that she received news that he had challenged Ning Yiwan and wanted to report on it. Embarrassed, he says that the news spread very quickly, and she adds that she left her mission because she heard rumors about the battle he challenged. As she had some free time, she thought of writing an article and coincidentally ran into him, who wanted information. He then tells her that it was all a misunderstanding and that he hit his head, but she soon questions him. The girl wants to know if he really likes her older sister and mentions that there are whispers that he feels jealous of her with Qin, which is why he bothers her so much. Embarrassed but persistent, she explains the relationship between the two siblings, saying they are just companions. Confused, he asks why he would be interested in Ning, given that there is a mountain separating them, and he hardly sees her. She then remembers his statement when he challenged her, where he mentioned that if he defeated her, he would make her his wife. It is said that the gray-haired girl is a great sister because she will eventually advance to the golden core stage. The protagonist feels embarrassed, and she keeps commenting that Ning will also be called Lord. Not knowing what to say, as he is completely nervous, he invents a story that he was drunk the day he made that statement. With her persistence, Xing asks how much the man drank to make up such a story and challenge her. She also inquires if they have any past history, offering 3 spiritual stones for the gossip in exchange. Returning to the temple, the boy says he left a medicinal soup heating in his room and needs to go. As he runs out, she chases him and, with her big smiling eyes, asks to go back together since they are neighbors. Embarrassed, he accepts the proposal and regrets his past behavior of skipping character scenes when he was younger. Bringing up the old topic again, she talks about the challenge with her older sister, and adds that she noticed the time and effort he was willing to invest in facing her. The boy, already tired of the conversation, thinks that if he had as much time as she mentions, he wouldn't die after 6 months. Accompanying him to the temple, she continuously talks about the competition and explains about a rare sword that would help him. But the boy can no longer endure and clarifies once and for all that he has no feelings for Ning. She tries to provoke him with the conversation, mentioning the conflict between them and sympathetically wishing for some progress. Walking through the courtyard, they talk, and Jing guesses that Qing doesn't want to stay at the location anymore. Commenting on the token, the girl says that if he completes 4 missions, he will be free to do whatever he wants. He then adds that he already intended to go to the pavilion to collect his missions. Without reacting, the girl starts to look at him strangely, and the boy doesn't understand, feeling a foreboding gaze. She notices a difference in his attitude, as he has never shown interest in seeking tasks like he is now. The boy becomes nervous, thinking about numerous things, one of which is whether he has been discovered for not being the original NPC. But in reality, the girl attributes it to the power of love, throwing him once again towards Ning Yiwan and making him feel dull. Relieved, he invents something to cover up his interest in the missions and explains to her that he doesn't want to waste his time. Arriving at the dormitory, it is already night, and the girl is pleased with the boy's change of mind. She emphasizes that if there are any feelings for the older sister, she will want to know, and without time to understand, the girl quickly goes to her room. Excited, she has high expectations for the report. As with her spring and autumn style and great writing skills, she will write it successfully. Not understanding this writing style, Qing plans to go to sleep as it has already gotten dark, and he needs plans for the next day. Suddenly, the man transforms into a wolf and remembers that this will happen frequently at night. Nervous, he needs to become strong enough to control it, and is grateful to be already in his dormitory. At that moment, he recalls that the realm despises demons and that they must not discover this. Having not eaten all day, his stomach begins to growl as he has not eaten at any time. Then a voice asks with doubt, "A spiritual beast?" Startled and quick, he turns around to see Lord Ning, the great sister. They look at each other with confusion, and she says she doesn't understand how he could be a spiritual beast belonging to a disciple. Not recognizing him, she picks up the wolf and explains that he cannot stay there, judging the dormitory by the clothes scattered around. Feeling sorry for the canine, the girl asks if he is hungry, offers him food, and also considers taking him to her room. Delighted, Qing imagines licking the girl, thinking it would be beneficial to absorb her essence. The wolf becomes agitated in her arms, feeling that what he was thinking is not right, making the girl even more confused. The sister calls him Little Wolf, reminding him of how she was when they first met and how she is acting now. One of her remarks surprises him. The Lord says not to worry, as she guarantees his safety. The master had asked Ning Yiwan to retrieve something from the Huashui Peak, and that's how she ended up finding him. It was explained to him. She is enchanted by the animal, which she finds adorable, and even offers to clean its paws. As she continues cleaning, the woman comments that she has never seen a beast like this before in the celestial realm. Qing is puzzled by all the actions, as according to the game, this was not supposed to happen. The girl is acting unusually. Talking to the canine, the sister mentions the challenge that Qing made in his human form. She talks about the rumors circulating about the boy's feelings, but she doesn't believe them, which leaves him confused. The little wolf is picked up again, and since it's just a pup, she is sure it won't understand. Embarrassed, the protagonist covers his body with his tail, hiding what he doesn't want exposed. Noticing his shy behavior, she laughs, finding the pup innocent, and she takes him to sleep with her. Dazed by the thought of lying down with the Lord, he doesn't know how to act and considers moving away. As panic takes over, the girl begins to undress and prepare for bed, making him even more nervous. A sigh escapes him as he imagines her sleeping in pajamas and admits he cannot bear to see her without clothes. To his surprise, the girl pulls the wolf close to her chest. The boy feels awkward, as with so few clothes, the spiritual fragrance is even stronger. His mind is in turmoil. He is unsure whether to act or just accept the situation and stay where he is. Deciding to leave, the boy tries to move back to his dormitory but is cautioned from moving too much. After waiting and seeing that the girl has fallen asleep, he quietly climbs out the window to avoid making noise. Observing that no one is around, he runs quickly and thinks about how the girl isn't as frightening as he initially thought. The next morning, in his normal form, Qing goes to the mission pavilion in search of a mission to obtain the token. Upon entering the temple, rumors start circulating, already spread by Jing, claiming that he likes Ning and is jealous of Shin. The gossip only grows, with each citizen adding something, some praising the older brother and comparing him to the boy. The man becomes nervous upon hearing this but remains calm while speaking with the elder about his purpose. To his surprise, he is informed that all the beginner missions have already been taken and that he is late. Confused, he states the urgency of his task, and then a mission that no one wanted is offered to him because it is of low value. The mission involves dealing with the mummy of the Huashui Tower. The elder explains that if the task isn't completed within a week, he won't be able to claim any more missions. Determined, the boy requests to register for the mission, as any additional points would help him. At the pavilion, the boy places some lower-grade blue spiritual stones on the table. Seeing the stones, he lowers his head in disappointment, as the original owner of the body was very poor. Thinking about the character, he cannot recall how his family became so impoverished, or anything related. Shing unexpectedly appears at the window, shouting and startling him. The girl has learned about the mission he took. Feeling down, he explains his goal and that he received permission from the elder to leave the mountain. Excited, she comments on the Lord's task, which will give him the freedom to leave the mountain and be close to her. She asks if he consciously chose this, and if he intended to stay near her. The boy explains that it was just something no one wanted, and it was purely coincidental that the elder offered it to him. Downcast, the girl realizes he has no money to accept something so insignificant. The boy, upset, reveals that he has nothing left but 12 lower-grade blue spiritual stones. The girl explains that the simple points he earns can be exchanged for better stones, which will provide more money. Cheered up by this information, the protagonist becomes excited, but in return, the girl wants to know about the task on the mountain where he will be near Ning. She adds that the Lord is a great partner for dual cultivation and recommends that he become her companion. After leaving, the boy reflects and sighs, thinking that if he becomes the girl's partner, he will die too quickly. The next morning, the protagonist sets out to complete his mission, and along the way, his mind troubles him. The boy is upset with his 12 lower-grade stones and his chi refinement, feeling like a poor wretch. Concerned, he demands money to be able to eat and survive, wishing to leave the realm quickly. Recalling that he was just playing a game and ended up falling asleep in this world, he does not understand what has happened. But he accepts that it might not be so bad and decides to move forward, accepting the fate that has been offered to him. After walking for 2 hours, he finds a lake and decides to get some water to quench his thirst. Looking to the side, he sees Liao bathing in the water and is disappointed since he has just finished taking a bath. Trying to pass by discreetly, the girl hears him, screams, and is startled. When she realizes who it is, she directly asks if he followed her. Hiding his intentions, the protagonist explains why he came and claims he would have avoided her if he had known she was there. Trying to dominate the situation once again, she suggests that they are alone, and in her thoughts, she insists that he must have come to see her. Without hesitation, the boy hurriedly explains his task on the mountain, and that he needs to complete it. With no time to waste, she grabs him from behind and questions why he is treating her so coldly. Embarrassed but impatient, the boy tells the girl that she is being inappropriate, leaving her stunned. Feigning hurt, she tries to express her feelings, but Qing ignores her and advises her to pay attention to her older brother. Confused, the girl becomes upset, thinking that something has been discovered since the boy's behavior is not normal. After leaving Liao alone, someone jumps from a tall tree and repeats everything that was just witnessed. Already anxious, the girl tells her younger brother, Li, not to interfere in other people's affairs, and the boy apologizes. The little boy informs her about his mission and warns her to be careful as it involves many demonic forces. She adds that the boy's task will also be challenging and says goodbye quickly as she heads to the northern part of the city. Now, Qing has a temporary token to leave the mountain in search of his task. The object grants him the right to leave, and if he doesn't return within the time limit, he will be quickly teleported back to the celestial realm. After 12 hours, the man arrives in Zuyo City, which is located 10 miles to the north. Walking around, he notices that the city is small and prosperous. He also observes that the items sold in the game are similar to those in the real world, with vendors not speaking much and there being little interaction. In real life, they are more playful and enjoying themselves. He notices that he does not have a weapon. Seeing a nearby shop, he worries about facing a task without any armament. Entering the store, he is attended by a girl with short dark hair who appears to be the sales clerk and asks what he is looking for. The shop offers all kinds of weapons, from hidden ones to ancient axes, as explained. Since he is a cultivator, he needs a sword, so he begins to examine them one by one. The price is 10 telephones, and being poor, Qing does not have the money but has stones, and just 3 are enough to pay. Taking advantage of the purchase, he asks for directions to find the aquatic flower house. The girl realizes he is a cultivator and mentions the rumors about the house, saying it is the largest brothel in the area. Several corpses were found in the brothel, and she explains that the authorities have interrogated the girls there. Impressed, he thanks her and confirms that he will go to the location. The friendly woman says goodbye, asking him to rid the house of this evil. Arriving there and looking around at the empty environment, he understands that the incidents must have had a significant impact. A beautiful woman with her hair in a bun descends the stairs, saying that the house might close in 3 months due to its emptiness. Upon seeing the red-haired boy, she is impressed, thinking he might be a customer. Without wasting time, she offers him food, massages, and music, trying to catch his attention in any way. This reflects the madam's desperation for customers, and he declines what is offered. A disciple from the Huashui sect of the celestial realm with the goal of exterminating evil and bringing justice. Surprisingly, the girl starts whining about how miserable her life is, and not understanding, he does not respond. She throws herself into his arms, saying she prays every night for a hero to appear and is emotional about his arrival. Confused, he tries to calm her down and asks for information to understand what happened to the place. She recounts the story that the sword shopkeeper had already told him and adds details, one being that customers died overnight. The most frightening fact is that the customers' kidneys were all removed, which deeply shocks the boy. The costs fell on the owner since the police and the dragons conducted the surveillance and confirmed all the deaths there. With financial losses and no other option, she sent a message to the Celestial Realm Masters. Reflecting on how all this happened, he concludes that it must be either beasts or demonic cultivators. His mind keeps racing as he tries to understand why only the kidneys and not the heart were taken, questioning who might need just kidneys. Regardless of what it is, the cultivator or the beast is much more powerful than he is, and he doesn't know how he will handle it. It was explained that incidents occur every 3 days, with the last one happening yesterday, which implies the next one will be the following day. The girl begs for help to save her brothel, and the boy says he will do his best to resolve the issue. Calling for the madam, a girl with white hair and a low-cut blue dress slowly descends the stairs. She demands a bird's nest, and the brothel owner explains that, given their current situation, it won't be possible to buy it now. Liana is one of the brothel's top girls, and due to the recent events, she is in a very bad mood, the madam explains to the boy. The protagonist requests a customer room just to think about how to solve the ongoing issues. The madam says that the only room without any deaths was Langer's, and he adds that he will stay in another room and swap with the girl the following day. Both go to the light-haired girl's door and discuss the proposal, but she seems nervous and does not like it. Angry, she finds it disrespectful for an ordinary boy to suddenly sleep in a lady's room. Calmly, the boy explains his concern for the girl and that he intends to change rooms to protect her. Charmed by Qing, Liang agrees to the room swap but is quickly interrupted by the madam, who insists on respect for the master. She apologizes for the girl's behavior and leads him to the customer room where he will spend the night. She explains that the room has a beautiful view and a great location, and she looks at him tearfully, as she will be depending on him. He gently ushers her out of the room, claiming he needs to prepare. In his memory, he recalls the brothel mission in the game and realizes he missed something important again. With his sword, the boy feels confident, and since the mission is worth very little, it shouldn't be extremely difficult. A book in his hands provides all the information he needs, and by following its instructions, things will be easier. It indeed worked. The boy felt what was in the book, and wonders why the NPC wastes so much power in the game. After memorizing the first 3 chapters of the skill, the boy feels proud of himself and promises to return to learn new techniques. As every night, he transforms into a wolf cub, but this time he accepts it and decides to rest for the following day. The night is long for the Lord, who is also intent on completing her mission near the mountain. The girl is in hot pursuit of a man across the rooftops of the small town. The man taunts and mocks her, believing he would corner her with his henchmen. However, he is surprised. Ning draws her large sword, and a brilliant blue light starts to envelop and defeat all those around her. Begging for mercy, all are on the ground, but with no pity, the Lord finishes her task and kills them. With graceful leaps, the girl mounts her sword with lights and travels to another place under the starry sky. In the morning at the aquatic flower house, the room swap is complete. During the swap, Liang asks how the capture will go and warns the boy strangely to be careful. Entering the room, the boy finds simple furniture and then hears a different woman's voice in the hallway. The madam explains that they do not receive women at the location, and the curious boy looks through the door to see Ning Yiwan. Startled, he quickly turns and questions what she is doing there since it was not her task. Among the girls' chatter in the hallway, the Lord offers a significant amount to stay at the brothel, and the madam does not hesitate to accept. Claiming to stay the night, the girl senses the demonic aura in the house and suspects it is a lower-level demon. Briefly closing the door, the boy hides nervously, but the curious woman asks the madam who is there. Feigning ignorance, she says it is one of her girls since the boy had asked her to be discreet about what she said the night before. Ning warns the girl about who she is inviting into her house, making the protagonist remember that she can sense demonic presence. Not knowing what to do, the boy must try to hide his demonic aura from the girl somehow. Night falls, and lying in bed, he waits for the time of the attacks. Suddenly, he is startled. A loud cry for help comes from outside, and he quickly gets up to check what is happening. A person with a covered face holds Liang by the neck and threatens her with a sword, with a dry body lying on the ground beside them. The mysterious person claims not to have known the girl was in the room and is startled by a strike from behind. The mystery is revealed as the masked figure turns out to be a man who is frightened to see a cultivator and runs away across the rooftops. Qing asks the girl to scream for help to get assistance while he tries to chase after the person who grabbed her. Following her screams, the Lord rushes out of her dormitory and finds the woman left on the ground, questioning her briefly. Unable to say much, the girl only manages to say that the master went after him before fainting, making the girl realize that someone else has taken the beginner mission. Chasing the masked man, the protagonist, anxious, loses sight of him near a dark, dead-end alley. He thinks about the man's high cultivation level, considering his agility, and deduces that he was likely at the peak of his mastery. This wouldn't be good for him, but after the loss, he would have to wait 3 more days with uncertainty about whether he would return. With his mind wandering, he recalls that 2 days have passed since the mission began and feels a fear of not completing it and having to return to the realm, resigned to his fate. He is startled. The boy is taken by surprise when a girl with brown hair touches his shoulder. Jumping in shock, the girl asks what he is doing and if there is a problem. The protagonist recognizes her as a fox demon and is puzzled by her lack of fear. She doesn't understand why he would be afraid of her, and the boy, hiding his anxiety, inquires if she knows him. The fox demon leads him to the demonic market, crossing a barrier that separates the human realm from the demon realm. Arriving there, the boy feels lost among the various species of creatures and people different from the norm. He asks again if she really knows him, and the girl explains that everyone there knows him. 2 years ago, his aunt had asked the fox for a necklace and paid for it, but Qing had disappeared for 2 years. Following the girl, the boy is surprised by 3 little girls who question where he has been all this time. He is amazed by his NPC's long history and feels completely skeptical about the situation. Meanwhile, the girl explains that the necklace can suppress his aura, and only a great cultivator in the Grand Mastery could sense it. He feels satisfied thinking about his wish in the morning, as Ning would be able to sense his presence at the brothel. The woman mentions that their families are connected since Qing's family had been a great benefactor to hers. Understanding what was said, the boy realizes he had disappeared for 2 years because he couldn't leave the celestial realm. Interested in some pills, the boy says he only has spiritual stones as payment. The fox explains that valuable items in the demonic market are human parts, and the stall is at the end of the street. Arriving at the stall, the boy asks for the owner, who turns out to be a talking mortar with a glowing light inside. In exchange for the pill, he gives the boy his pouch where the stones are kept, and he only gets a rejuvenating pill. The boy is content with just 1 pill and already thinks about the next human parts he will bring for trade. As night falls, he returns to his dormitory, pleased with his productive day, and plans to talk to the madam. To his surprise, a blue sword is held near his neck, and Ning threatens him, wanting to know who the boy was chasing earlier. Nervous, the boy asks how she arrived there, and the girl mentions that her demonic aura is very strong. He explains that it could be the aura of the man he fought earlier to defend the light-haired girl, and the girl understands. Relieved that he had worn the suppressor necklace he got from his aunt on the way back, he thinks that she cannot sense him. She takes him to speak with the owner of the aquatic flower house and claims she will report to the pavilion to get more time for the mission. Happy, the boy follows the older sister to where the madam is taking care of Miss Lianger, who still seems very tense. Ning begins to ask if the girl remembers the face of the man and if, when she was attacked, she was in the middle of a relationship with him. Confirmed by her, the Lord explains that relationships are the best opportunities for demons to absorb energy and improve their cultivation. The madam feels guilty for what happened and is upset that her brothel will close after the events. The girl has the brilliant idea to pretend to be a courtesan and Qing to be a client, and they will stay for another month to ensure safety. The owner of the house retreats to give him a courtesan name, as it would shorten a part of her life. The girl insists she is doing her job and orders that her younger brother, the boy with red hair, now live with her. In disbelief, the boy becomes nervous and worries about being in danger, but he is actually tense about turning into a wolf at night. The next day, sitting on a stone by the lake, the protagonist reads a book that will help his cultivation rise to face his adversary. Moved by the rumors about the kidneys and not wanting to be the next target, he focuses on the book's text, which explains how to gather chi by circulating spiritual power from the outside. As instructed in the manual, sitting cross-legged, he concentrates and practices sensing all directions and keeping his mind open. A brilliant yellow energy envelopes his body and grows stronger, showing that he is gradually learning to control it. Observing Qing's training from behind the trees, the Lord notices his progress and the difference in the boy after being challenged by him. Recalling what the boy said about marrying her and being worthy of being her husband if he defeated her, the woman dismisses the idea. She remembers not having seen him before the last 2 years and that suddenly he challenged her and proposed marriage as soon as he returned to the celestial realm. Apparently, back in the dormitory, the young man talks to Ning Yiwan, saying that if anyone asks, he will claim he learned everything he knows from scrolls from the Pavilion of Skills. During their conversation, the protagonist feels his tail starting to appear and is about to transform, making him panic and worry about the girl seeing him. Knowing he will turn into a wolf again at night and feeling anxious, the boy tries to hide his tail by placing his hands in front of it to prevent the girl from seeing. To escape the situation, he claims to his sister that he is hungry and quickly leaves in search of food, leaving her alone in her bath without time to understand. During her time alone and with a thoughtful expression, the girl reflects on how Qing has been a cultivator for years and still cannot control his hunger. Outside, the boy runs as fast as he can, not looking back, only afraid of transforming in front of everyone. Quickly and determined to distance himself, he continues at a fast pace and even ends up directed to the guest room, mistaken for a client and offered to Miss Ding Ding, one of the girls from the house. Noticing that his tail and paw have appeared, he questions the rapid process that is making him more tense about the situation. Speeding up, he transforms fully into a wolf, as he does every night, but manages to climb onto a roof in time where no one can see him. Angry, he resolves to learn more about his NPC's body in hopes of understanding how to control this transformation. Still wandering, the protagonist, who will become a canine by dawn, thinks that if he doesn't control what is happening, he will be discovered by the Lord and his journey will end. Surprised, he stops and analyzes, quickly following another path guided by an unfamiliar but delicious scent. Sticking his face between the plants to observe where the fragrance is coming from, the animal, wide-eyed and paralyzed, takes in the sight. 3 golden fish are seen roasting on long sticks over a campfire, and the sight makes the animal happy, not noticing someone nearby. A woman with emerald green hair, camouflaged by a large straw hat and a red kitten in her lap, looks at him. Charmed, she admires the little wolf and asks if he is hungry. Surprised, he looks around and behind him, unsure if she is speaking to him. The beautiful woman, holding her hat and briefly looking into his eyes, noticing his confusion, confirms that she is indeed talking to him. She tells him that as a pet wolf, he should not wander at night since, in her thoughts, he has an owner who worries about him getting lost. The young wolf, pleased by her kindness, stays there and gets the desired roasted fish he was seeking. While eating, the animal senses that it is being watched and, looking to the side, sees the orange-furred kitten observing him, not very pleased. With its claws extended in a threatening manner, the cat meows, trying to tell him to eat and leave, and the canine responds with a playful challenge. With its large, delicate eyes, the wolf mentions being so cute that it makes the feline insecure about losing its owner's affection to him. Furious, the cat, with her enormous claws and ominous eyes, asserts that she is a spiritual beast and ensures there is no reason to feel vulnerable. Glaring at each other, the 2 animals nervously begin to fight, sending the fish flying everywhere. The girl, not expecting this, screams desperately for them to stop. In the midst of the confusion and desperation, the woman trips over a nearby stone, and as she falls, her long green dress gets caught on a tree branch. The animals, who had momentarily stopped fighting, see the girl's dress come loose, causing her to fall naked in front of the wolf, making him blush with embarrassment. Surprisingly, with the intention of protecting her owner, the feline quickly slaps the wolf's face with her paws, telling him not to look at her. Upset by the beating, the wolf cries while the girl stands up, telling herself she needs to stop being careless. Still enchanted and with his cheeks flushed, the little wolf is left open-mouthed as the angle he was at gave him an unexpected view of the girl, wearing the coat, which was the only piece of clothing he brought besides the dress, and sitting on the ground with her hands covering her chest. She looks embarrassed. Not realizing that her nose has started to bleed, Qing remains in the same state, which causes concern for the girl. She quickly gets up to clean him and advises him to stay hydrated. The protagonist, impressed by every detail from the girl, also noticed that what healed him was the hot water and the cloth. After all the commotion, the cat insists on her jealousy over her owner and threatens him if he has any intention of touching her inappropriately. Despite the intimidation, he continues to provoke the feline to annoy her, asking what she would do if he touched the woman's body. With everything in order, the girl expresses concern about her family at home, but immediately holds back as she remembers how they did not care about her. While eating their fish, Qing, curious about what he overheard, shows interest in the girl's journey and asks the cat about it. She explains that her parents are trying to force her to marry a young master from the beast-taming clan. Intrigued, he tries to understand if she is running away from the marriage, and the feline adds that yes, but it will be difficult to remain hidden as her parents understand beast language and will find her soon. A noise from behind the bushes catches the girl's attention, and anxious, she prepares for the worst, pulling out a long whip from her coat. To her surprise, it is Ning. The girl with green hair did not know her, but the little wolf did and began to sweat nervously as soon as he saw her. The Lord arrives with a commanding aura, recognizes the girl's clan, and hints at sensing the significant demonic energy in the area because of her. Recognizing the animal beside her, she remembers the night they spent together, and when he disappeared without a trace, leading her to believe he had been in the mountains recently. Even though frightened, the girl firmly asks who the woman with the long gray hair is. The woman insists that the girl introduce herself first, and Qin Lianxin states she is part of the beast-taming clan and is traveling with her spiritual animal, her kitten. After her brief introduction, it is Ning Yiwan's turn, who explains she is from the Huashui sect from the celestial realm. When the girl recognized her and realized it was the esteemed Lord Yuehua, Lian was overwhelmed with joy as she was a big fan of the woman. It was a huge shock for both Ning and and Qing, who did not expect the girl to be such an admirer. Embarrassed, Qing explains that she has admired her for a long time and, without hesitation, asks for her autograph. Removing her clothing, she requests that Yuhua write on her back, which once again impresses both the sister and the boy in wolf form. Kindly, the woman offers her something beyond just an autograph, which also delights the girl. She receives a rounded wooden comb with some stones detailing it and a beautiful white flower accompanied by ribbons and shells. Without hiding her joy at receiving a gift from her idol, she jumps and sings continuously, surrounded by neutral expressions. Taking advantage of not being the center of attention, the canine considers making an escape and, as he is leaving, is warned by Ning that she is keeping an eye on him. Not very pleased but also nervous, Qing remembers he is wearing his necklace, which would make it difficult for her to sense his demonic aura, but he still worries. The woman also noticed that last time she saw him, she hadn't noticed the necklace around his neck, which led her to think that now the wolf has an owner. Accepting this, she tells him that being so adorable, he must be receiving gifts from many women, and holding the necklace implies that it was one of the items given to him. Explaining why she came to the location, the sister says she sensed demonic energy and came to patrol, but since it was nothing significant and just the kitten's energy, everything is fine. She also adds that she knows the wolf and says she will take him with her. Upset at the Lord's departure, the girl looks at her and asks sadly if she is leaving already. Ning mentions she is close to where the girl was hiding and adds that she is at the water flower house. Without hesitation, Qin Lianqing, smiling with a sparkle in her eyes, assures them she will accompany them to the brothel. It is now nighttime, with the sky filled with large clouds and stars. After a long conversation with the girl, they returned to their dormitory. The return of the little wolf greatly brightened the Lord's evening, and she even ensured that her younger brother would not disturb them. For her, there is no cause for concern, as she is confident that the young man who attacked Langer a few nights ago will not show up. In her thoughts, she believes that he is of no value in human form to the girl, who seems to care much more about the little dog. She holds him close to her face, praising his scent, which is far superior to that of other smelly dogs, and also his soft fur. As she holds him, he reflects on how some of the things she said earlier sounded inappropriate. Carried in her arms like a baby, Ning invites him to bed with her, just as she had done the first time they met. Pointing to a detailed wooden door in the dormitory, and with the wolf still in her arms, the lady releases a blue light from her fingers directed at the threshold. What she did was perform a sealing. She closed the doors with her power and assured that her brother would know what to do when he returned. Panicked, the dog looks worried because he doesn't know how he will appear if he turns back into his human form at dawn. To make matters worse, adding to his anxiety, he remembers that he will wake up naked and becomes distressed, not wanting to be in trouble because of her. The reactions pass quickly once he is placed among the girl's soft areas and turned onto his back. With his cheeks flushed, he takes advantage of the situation. Acting on impulse after sensing her scent, he licks her and immediately feels embarrassed about what he has just done. Surprised, she talks to him, saying that she thought he was just a stray animal, but in reality, he was like any other dog that enjoys licking. Embarrassed, the dog feels relieved to be in his animal form, knowing that he would certainly be in trouble if he were human. These actions are accompanied by greater fears, as he worries about the possibility of being discovered by her. In his anxiety, he imagines many things, including that a small animal in the same situation would act innocently, and that he is a victim since she is the one who brings him to her soft areas. Despite this, he doesn't miss the chance to snuggle in and make himself comfortable. Observing him, the girl considers giving him a name, calling him Woof Woof. She asks if he would accept being her pet, as only a spiritual pet can receive a name. Considering the pros and cons of the offer, Qing is unsure whether to accept to please her or refuse, given that he will eventually leave the mountain. Understanding the animal's dilemma, she explains that if he becomes her spiritual pet, he will need to follow her for life, and also notices that his behavior suggests he has no master. He observes the different way the girl treats people and animals, noting how distant and cold she is toward others. Changing the subject, the sister says they should sleep since she needs to wake up early to teach her brother new skills and adds that she hopes he learns quickly. Reflecting on her actions, he notices that she also behaves cautiously with people. Realizing he had been distracted by her kindness, the dog remembers the reason for his earlier distress. With the doors sealed and trapped in the dormitory, he anxiously fears her reaction when she wakes up to find a person lying next to her. While she sleeps peacefully, Qing, already tired and with dark circles under his eyes, tries to think of a solution and concludes that, in his wolf form, he wouldn't be able to break the seal. In a sarcastic tone, he thinks that according to the story, he should die only after 6 months, but given the situation, he might end up dying tomorrow. Under the aquatic flower house, the sky is beautiful and starry, with a lovely waning moon lighting up the long night. Even late into the night, Qing, standing with a tired face and dark circles, needs to escape before he returns to his human form. Noting that the older sister is in a deep sleep, he sees the opportunity to put his escape plan into action. With few options, he decides to dig into the ground to get out, knowing that in his animal form he has no other means of escape. In the dormitory, he is working on creating a hole to escape and hopes that in another hour he will succeed. Surprised by Ning, who had been watching him, he starts to sweat from nervousness. Not knowing what to do, he whimpers, but in his mind, he tries to understand how she woke up when he had tried to make as little noise as possible. The girl understands from his expressions that the dog is uncomfortable and decides to lift the seal to release him. Opening the door and seeing an opportunity, the young man quickly runs outside, appearing to the girl as if he had been restrained for a long time. Turning back to her bed, the woman feels a demonic energy nearby, which prompts her to leave her room to investigate. After quickly leaving the ladies' dormitory, the little wolf rests against the tree, relieved to have escaped in time. Still anxious about transforming outdoors and being seen, the animal reassures itself that being exposed is better than dying. The young man is considering returning to the demon market to get some materials with the fox sister. Returning to the alley where he previously entered the market, he becomes confused as he cannot see the entrance. In his memory, he clearly recalls the fox lady explaining how to sense the entrance effortlessly just by being a demon. He realizes that in wolf form, he seems to forget some things experienced in his human form. Recalling the last instructions from Miss Ding, he remembers that despite some humans still hating demons, entrances are located in different places and are usually far from the previous ones. Disappointed, the wolf lowers his head and sighs, knowing that he will have to search the area for a new entrance. Leaving his location without much effort, the dog looks up at the sky, spotting a strange presence, and ending up face to face with a beast entering the demon market. Happy to have found it, and saved time, his eyes shine upon seeing the entrance, which is disguised as a brick wall. Soon after, he senses Sister Ning's aura approaching, and turning to check, he confirms it is indeed her. In a panic, he quickly enters the portal. Landing on the ground and noticing that the presence has vanished, the woman looks around and identifies the portal between the walls of the alley. Returning and accepting the demon's escape, the girl does not give up and is determined to uncover the secret of the demon market. On the other side, a girl with short blue hair, accompanied by another with green hair, asks what the brother is doing there. Suddenly, all the women in the area start laughing at him and showing interest in what is on display. Embarrassed and ashamed, he realizes he has returned to his human form and, as expected, is without clothes. However, ending the topic of conversation for the girls, he says he has things to do. Imagining what would have happened if he hadn't returned to his normal state before passing through the entrance, Jean clearly sees an image of Ning threatening him with death. Hastily bidding farewell to the girls, the young man runs quickly to Miss Ding's door to ask for her help. Calling out to her, the young man is seen by the three young girls working there, who look at the scene with tense expressions. The middle sister, with a rather unpleasant look, mentions his name, and he explains why he is without clothes. The woman lets out a small sigh while he observes the faces of the store's girls, wondering why they all seem so apprehensive. With pink light emanating from her index finger, Miss Ding dresses him in a brown outfit with a belt and golden details. Surprised, the young man is impressed by the abilities of Ding's younger sister, who advises him to go to the spirit pavilion and obtain a spatial stone. When he asks what it is, she explains that it is an item allowing anything to be stored in an alternate space. Since the stone is valuable among humans, and he would only need to exchange it for something made by demons in the demon market, he could store multiple sets of clothes while traveling. Understanding the explanation, he says he will bring some items next time to get the spatial stone. Changing the subject, he asks about his older sister, Ding, and the girl, looking somewhat downcast, tells him that she is busy handling matters. Understanding this, he asks her to thank her and says he will return soon to keep them company, and that he now needs to resolve some issues. Waving to the girl, who tells him to take care, he leaves and walks through the market courtyard. Reflecting on the fact that Sister Ning was chasing someone earlier, he hopes she has already returned to her room. Knowing that entrances change and move farther away each time, he hopes not to encounter her at the place he entered. At the spirit pavilion, Qing knocks on the door of the dormitory where she is staying, wondering if the lady is still awake. Already thinking of a convincing excuse for his clothes, he enters the room. Without even greeting her, she immediately questions his attire. His excuse is that he encountered bandits trying to rob the shop owner and, in trying to intervene, got dirty, receiving new clothes as compensation. Impressed by his fabricated story, his younger sister grants him the right not to sleep with her that night. Relieved, he disguises his relief by questioning whether this would interfere with the plan to deal with the demons attacking the brothel at night. Touching on the subject, she informs him that earlier she had sensed a demonic energy nearby. Despite letting it slip away, she was gravely injured and considers it lucky she wasn't killed. Distressed, the protagonist questions with doubt, and his sincere, "What?" leaves the lady confused. Recalling the last time, he wonders if it could be the same person who attacked on previous nights. However, the timing doesn't fit since it was recent and left him very injured. Explaining the different thought processes of demons and humans, she says the fugitive might have returned with the intention of healing. But ending the conversation, it's already late, and the sister tells the young man to go to bed. He makes his respects, wishes her goodnight, and leaves. On his way to his dormitory, he reflects on why the brothel is being attacked so frequently as a fixed target, and why someone would risk their life to do so. Logically, this thought makes no sense, but another unexplainable thought lingers in his mind. This is how Ning is so kind and affectionate when he is in wolf form, yet in his human form, she treats him like trash. With his hand on his forehead, he thinks that if she treated him even 10% as well as she treats the wolf, he might not be facing death in 6 months. Needing to sleep early for his morning training, he ends his thoughts with the lady and goes to bed. Early the next morning, the sky is clear with a few clouds, and young Qing, accompanied by his older sister, is stopped by Qin. The girl with emerald green hair politely asks to join them, as she wants to train with them. The lady explains to the girl that the beast tamer clan she is part of and their kingdom practice different skills. Upset, the girl says she hadn't considered this aspect, as part of her interest was in finding Lady Awa. To avoid causing trouble, she says she will wait for them until lunchtime. Being kind, Ning thanks the girl for understanding about the training and proceeds with the young man. In a thicket in front of a stream, the two plan to train, but before starting, she asks him about his cultivation level. Shyly, and not wanting to share too much, he says he recently reached the peak of chi refinement, and also admits to having neglected his cultivation in the past. The voices in his head suggest that, being at the lower stellar domain in demonic cultivation, he should claim to be at a low level as a human to avoid suspicion. Unconcerned with his cultivation level, she explains that what she will teach does not require a specific level, so anyone can learn it. First, she looks at the stream and asks the protagonist to walk on the water, reaching the other side. Not seeing any initiative, she states that in the main classes, they teach something like this. Qing, embarrassed, admits that he did not participate in those lessons. Ignoring this fact, the lady offers to show him how to do it, starting with the shadow steps technique. If the young man masters this first lesson, he will be able to walk through the skies, she explains, and then demonstrates the technique, which involves gathering energy in the feet and imagining them as boats until the energy of the water flows. Focused, his eyes sparkle with each step described by the woman, who is now walking on the water, asking him to expel the energy from the previous step. Surprised by his NPC body for understanding easily, he follows the explained steps and puts them into practice. A red energy appears, and in the background, his mentor advises him to relax like a flower and follow the flow of the water. On his first attempt, the young man succeeds, saying that her teachings are incredible and impressing Ning with his quick learning. Not entirely pleased, the woman suspects she might have been deceived since he demonstrated ease with the skill on his first try. Ignoring his success, the young man uses a slang term unknown to her to describe his astonishment. The girl asks about the term, but he explains that it is just a simple phrase expressing surprise used in his hometown. He also confirms that he did not know how to do what he did and had no hope of learning it on the first try, following her teachings. His mind, always full, judges his character once again for seeming incompetent over the 2 years. Despite his ease and understanding, the girl, intrigued by what she saw, remembers that it took her days to learn how to walk on water, while he mastered the skill in moments. Noticing her fixed gaze and distant thoughts, he realizes that she is likely thinking about something related to him. Trying to ease the tension, he comforts her, saying it was just luck, and that mastering something completely would require a lot of practice. The woman asks him to continue practicing, as she will return to the inn, and thoughtfully considers that the master should be informed so he can become a central disciple of the Huashui sect. To return, she mounts her large blue sword, and the young man waves goodbye with affection. With the speed of her sword, she ends up splashing liters of water on the young man, drenching him completely. Realizing her great skills, he acknowledges that his estimate was incorrect and that he will be able to advance in the coming days to the transformation domain. Interested in the demon market, the boy seeks an item capable of concealing someone's energy. Intending to return there again that night, he thinks it is better to plan ahead rather than regret something bad happening later. 15 days pass quickly, and nothing happens at the brothel. The clients have returned to frequent the establishment. The madam, very pleased with the outcome, asks everyone to enter politely and feel at ease, thinking that it is all thanks to the immortal masters. It is night, and the sky is clear and starry, with the house more crowded than it has been in recent months. The lady believes that, since the demon was severely injured last time, it must have taken time to recover and did not have a chance to return. Adding that this day marks a year since the crime, they must be careful. Qin questions why they are so obsessed with the flower house, claiming that a member of the demonic clan could go anywhere, and that a large city with many brothels nearby would not make sense as a target. He wonders why they would risk attacking such a unique place. The boy takes the opportunity to ask why they only attack the flower house, given that there is a large city nearby with many brothels. Determined to uncover the true connection to the specific house, she seems intrigued. Suddenly, Qin's orange kitten appears, angry, meowing, and passing by them, running after her animal. The girl claims that it senses some energy nearby, and because the demon is cautious and uses some artifacts to suppress the energy, it becomes very weak and fades away. Not understanding, the young man is surprised as the older sister questions about suppressing energy. Nervous, thinking it might be him again, the protagonist becomes tense and switches his necklace to his neck, as it was too visible on his wrist. Even though he hasn't been discovered, he continues to fear any energy coming from him. Amidst the crowd, the beast must have blended in, making it difficult to locate it with so many people around. Lianxin says they cannot alert the people to avoid causing more problems. Unconcerned, the lady asserts that when the beast attacks, its own energy will reveal its location, and then they just need to track it down and end everything. The girl with gray hair says seriously that no one has anywhere to run. In the scene is Liang Qin, who, with her orange kitten in her hands, is shouting, "Evil creature!" Surprisingly, the girl throws her cat to the ground and surrounds it, asking where it will run to. Smoke rises in all directions in the sky, and then a large tiger with red eyes appears. Shocked, the girl is stunned, and the tiger growls in front of her, releasing strong winds. Excited by the work of her kitten, the girl cheerfully praises it with little jumps, calling it beautiful. Hastily, the young man asks her to wait and requests to understand why she did what she did. In his thoughts, he says he can't reveal that she is Miss Ding because explaining their relationship to Ning would be too difficult. Giving him a chance to explain, the older sister asks why she specifically targeted the flower house to hunt humans. She also asks where the real girl who worked at the brothel, the true Kunger, is and what happened to her. Head down, she remains silent, and with no time left, she is threatened by the lady, who says that knowing she has killed dozens of people is enough to seek justice. In a sarcastic tone, the girl laughs and repeats the lady's words about seeking justice. Facing no one, she questions why just because she is human, other races should die. She adds that many humans kill demons without reason and questions what kind of justice this is. Continuing the discussion, the older sister tells the beast that, even so, she killed people. The girl, now angry, raises her voice, saying that the people, specifically the men, deserved it. Interrupting the conversation, the young man with red hair steps in and tells the girl that the mission is his and he wants to complete it. She understands and asks if he can handle it since he is weaker. He affirms that he can, and stepping back, the girl says she will watch, indifferent to his presence, and he replies that it's fine. Asking once more about the reasons for killing people inside the brothel, he waits for answers. Quiet, the girl thinks that the master is currently the younger brother of the cultivator, who seems unwilling to reveal his own identity. Since her family is a benefactor to his family, she couldn't cause problems for him, and then transforms into her usual form, showing her foxtail and ears. Recognizing her, the protagonist becomes downcast and tense, waiting silently for the answer. The woman begins recounting a story from years ago when she saved a scholar in Zuyo City. She continues by saying she rescued him from bandits and gave him gold and some treasures, with the young man promising never to betray her. At that time, the man was going to take an exam in the capital for the academy, and admiring his ambition, she helped him. But she heard that he was spending all his gold on women at the brothel. When she went after him, she found him with Miss Lingerie in bed, and when he realized he was exposed, he accused her. He reported her to the Flying Dragons division, claiming she was trying to kill him. When the division arrived at the clan with the clues given by him, they tortured and massacred many of them. Thanks to the help of a very powerful person, they managed to escape, as she and her 3 sisters barely survived. Through her tears, she concludes the story, saying that the rest of the clan was massacred, and they were all innocent. For revenge, she decided to kill all those dirty men who frequented the brothel, implying that they are all the same simply for going to the place. In conclusion, she accepts that she has no way to escape and says that if she must be killed, it is better to do it quickly. In doubt, the young man asks his sister what to do, and she confirms that, as it is his mission, it is in his hands. Rising on her sword to leave, the girl with green hair mounts her large tiger and follows. After the departure of the girls, the boy thanks the woman for hiding her true identity. Feeling hurt from remembering the events, she returns her thanks to the young master. She gazes at him and leans into his arms, resting her head on his shoulder, and he embraces her. She reveals that the expert who saved her and her sisters during the disaster was from the same family as the young man. Surprised, he realizes why she said his own lineage was a benefactor to the Fox family. Still resting on his shoulders, Ding looks at him and claims that their fate is in the young people's hands. He explains that if he lets her go, she risks encountering the older sister again on her way, and there will be no second chance, with only one way to save her. Intrigued by the survival method, she is offered the opportunity to become the protagonist's spiritual pet. The night is dark with few stars and a large full moon, and the flower house has all its rooms lit. Relieved by the lack of disaster, the madam sighs while a young man in the background helps another who is leaning on his back. Whining, the woman kneels, thanking the master for rescuing them, as otherwise, there would have been another death and the brothel would likely have been closed. The lady observes the pool of lost blood and is surprised that the person continued to live despite everything. Returning home after resolving everything, the young man claims to have completed his mission for the older sister. He says he has subdued the demon, and there will be no more incidents, and he has already arranged for the return of the real comer. Grateful, the house owner mentions that she has already set aside the reward and will ask someone to fetch it. Questioning one of the young man's statements, the older sister repeats, not very cheerfully, subdued, with doubt. Not pleased with his attitude, as she expected the demon's death, she tells him that he still has a very soft heart. He tries to convince her, explaining that she acted as she did because she was betrayed first. Furious, the girl asks about an eye for an eye, and why he didn't resolve it with the one who hurt her. Reprimanding the fox's actions and almost defending the intruder, she claims she has no right to judge them and presses him about what he did with her. Pointing to his arm, he shows his bracelet, saying he accepted her as his pet. Thus, she will spend the rest of her life atoning for the sins she committed. Disagreeing, the woman turns and says that since the mission is completed, they will return to the celestial realm to collect the points claimed from the task. Relieved, he relaxes at the prospect of no more questions. Under the bright blue sky, Lianxin says her goodbyes, mentioning she is going home now that her location has been discovered. Waving, the girl and her kitten cry out, goodbye, to the masters, and the two charismatic figures wave back to the little girl atop her feline. Already planning her departure, the lady, who has informed the sect that they are returning, asserts that they need to return to the realm today. Downcast, he confirms and notices that the girl is colder than before, likely due to his actions with the demon. The next day, the sun shines brightly on the entrance of the storage pavilion. Barely back, Jing surrounds him, saying she heard about his return with Lady Wawa. Impressed by how quickly the news traveled, the girl boasts about being the chief editor. She asks to hear the latest news for her report but promises not to write anything bad. Chattering, she says she thinks differently from others, and since the girl and her brother don't seem to be good partners, and the woman doesn't seem interested in him, she offers an opportunity to the young man. Bored, he confirms he already knew this, as she had mentioned it before. Before she can get too worked up, she says that with her keen eyes, she would know if he and the girl had something going on. He explains to her that they were just completing their missions and, since they were near each other, she ended up helping him. Reflecting on the game's scenarios where NPCs disturb the girl until she chooses another man, he imagines that the girl's emotional side is based on others' opinions. He is irritated again by the lack of dialogue in the game, and not knowing much about the girl. After a long chat on the way to the dorms, they arrive in front of their rooms. Saying goodbye, she once again asks him not to forget to mention something important to her. Tired from the journey, he enters his room and throws himself on the bed, quickly getting up upon feeling a person under the covers. Calmly revealing herself, Lin appears, looking sleepy and tired. Nervous and embarrassed, the young man asks what the girl was doing lying in his bed. She explains that while waiting, she dozed off and while wiping her face, asked about the trip. Ignoring the question, he asks her to leave his room, fearing that someone might see and misunderstand the situation. Seeing how persistent the girl is, trying all kinds of seductive methods despite being ignored, he wonders if she will only stop once she gets what she wants from him. In another attempt, the woman, resting her head on his chest, asks if she has done something to make him treat her so unkindly. He throws aside her attempt at seduction as he had done before. On the floor, he looks up at her, stating that he doesn't want to waste his time with her, fully aware of her plans. Thinking the young man knew what she was trying to do, she becomes tense and starts to sweat while still sitting on the floor. Seeing the girl's desperation, he understands her feelings but feels that now is not the right moment. The young man did this intending to scare her, as he isn't ready to reveal the whole truth. The girl, shocked by his actions and thinking he knew her entire plan, calls him a bore. Claiming to be tired, the young man expels her from his room, not giving her time to dress. The girl is exposed in the courtyard, where several people pass by, which makes her furious. Thinking about how he is being pursued by his older brother, he feels no guilt for retaliating against the attacks. It's a night filled with clouds and a moon illuminating the Qingyang peak, which is covered in mountains. Qin can be heard searching among the trees for a cave that might be among the bushes near the peak. Our video ends here. If you enjoyed it and want to see the next part, subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Goodbye.